Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It is Tuesday. It's September 24th. It is 2024. We have a 10-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast, joined as always on Tuesday by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, what's happening, my friend?
Nothing much, brother. Coming on Tuesday. Nice little 10-gamer here as we start to wind down the season. I didn't mention it pre-show, but this is a very important opening series for the Braves because we are playing the Mets, and whoever comes out of this one victorious, Stevie, I think has a real shot at sustaining the wild card here. So if the Braves can sweep, that would be amazing. So it should be a good series, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, big week as far as like playoff standings. Some teams out, some teams in, some teams officially eliminated, some teams officially hanging on by very little. I mean, like it's one of those weeks where like I know like baseball this time of the year is a lot, and it's repetitive, and we've been talking baseball forever. I mean, so March. April, like that's when the season starts, and here we are in September. So like it's been a long year, but I mean now it's like what kind of playoff stuff can we take advantage of? Lineups and non-lineups and pitchers getting yanked earlier. Like, yeah, I mean the Red Sox yanked Tanner Houck at like 50 pitches today. So what can we take advantage of is what we're trying to do here in the last week of the regular season for MLB. Let's get into it. Let's have some fun. We got a lot to talk about. My baseball lineup is doing really well on Monday night. I have a San Francisco stack, but the Phillies, the bats that I have for the Philadelphia bats that I have in my San Francisco, like I had Harper, Schwarber, they both did really well. And then I have a 4-man San Francisco stack going with Nola and Brown, and they both did well. So I'm hoping San Francisco can kind of put me over the edge tonight. I need San Francisco to get going here, and we'll see how that kind of shapes up. But never bad when you have like a 4-man stack and you have 5 hitters left in general, and like you're already like in a good position cash wise. So see how that ends up. But we got 10 games to talk about here on today's podcast. We get started with Baltimore at New York. 8.5 total in this one. Yankees are 162 favorite. Dean Kramer against Clark Schmidt. Thoughts here on Dean Kramer against the Yankees? Well, you muted your mic on the first game. You haven't muted your mic in so long. Muted your mic on the first game of the podcast. That's a rough plus money bet right there for a lot of people.
Yeah, haven't done that in a long time. May not happen again for a few weeks. It's been a minute, so not going to worry about it. But yeah, I don't want to take a shot on Kramer here against the Yankees. He has been better, Stevie. Now look, he sees San Francisco, Boston, Tampa Bay, like back to back to back. But I still, against the Yankees, not thrilled about it.
The only thing that I'll say is, I don't know, the Yankees win this game and they clinch. So I think the Yankees are going to take this game very seriously, especially at home. Win this game, and then the rest of the series doesn't really matter that much. If you sweep Baltimore, that potentially allows Detroit, Kansas City, and Minnesota to catch up to them. The Yankees are only 2 games up on Cleveland for the best record in the AL. Just not a spot I want to play Dean Kramer. I mean, there's going to be spots where we have really good pitching options overall in this slate, and I think this is just one of them where I don't want to take the shot. I think there's better options. And then Schmidt on the other side, he's been pitching okay. He hasn't really shown a ton of upside, but Baltimore, another team that wants to win every single game right now. So I think I'm going to pass on Clark Schmidt as well.
Yeah, we don't have any reason to be playing Clark Schmidt today against Baltimore. Like you talked about, both of these teams, we think they want to continue to win, obviously. And while these guys are probably going to be some arms they use in the playoffs, Stevie, I don't want to use them today on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, Schmidt, he has a 26% K rate on the season. He's been striking out lefties at a good clip all year. Been pitching better against lefties all year. Baltimore, pretty left-handed heavy lineup, but they don't strike out. They're at 20.5% most of the time here, as like one of the lowest strikeout rates in baseball against right-handed pitching. So I just don't see a lot of upside in this spot for Clark Schmidt. So I'm going to pass on him. What are your thoughts here on the Baltimore Bats?
I mean, look, I don't ever mind, cranking out a Santander, Stevie. Like he's been, so good to both sides of the plate. Mullins obviously is, been priced up down the end of the season, but perfectly fine with him. Gunner's expensive, but I mean he's been good most of the season. O'Hearn at 4K, like, I think Baltimore's fine. I think there's enough balance that if you want to stack this team, you could. I haven't been a huge Rutschman guy this season, Stevie. Like, I feel like he stayed at 5K, but we just haven't seen enough of the big games. So I've just kind of mostly played other guys. But, I mean, if you want to get him in, like, perfectly fine, especially if you're stacking this team.
I probably don't end up stacking Baltimore on this slate just because of like how good of a ground ball pitcher that Schmidt is. Like he's only allowed 2 home runs over his like last 7 games. So just not a spot I think I want to stack. I could see maybe a one-off or so, but overall just not a spot I want to play. Baltimore Bats. And then, I mean, on the other side here, like you said, Kramer has been pitching a little bit better here recently, but he really struggles with left-handed power. So like a Juan Soto, Austin Wells, left-handed power in this ballpark against a pitcher that struggles with lefties, I could see using some Yankees lefties here. Back-to-back mutes. That's a rough scene over here. Over 1.5 hasn't hit in months. Who hit the ladder today, man? The ladder.
Might as well go ahead and hand it over 2.5 to cash them out for big money. Soto for sure. I mean, Verdugo at 2,800. Like this is really cheap, Stevie. So a guy that's been an everyday player, and I know every day isn't like him, cranking out monster performances, but a really good price for him. You talked about Wells at 4,100. I'm fine with Ben Rice if he was playing. I think they optioned him. Never mind, because Rizzo's back. But Rizzo's just been awful. But still, Stevie, like he just gets you access to the cheap Yankees, and I think I'm fine with the cheap Yankees.
Oh, I just got a Chapman home run. That was a good home run for me, Will.
Oh man.
Yeah, up to 10th in this tournament now. So good home run. Nice. Let's hit another one, Chapman. That's the goal, Chapman, is to hit multiple home runs tonight. Yeah, I mean, overall, Yankees lefties is where I'm at. Inside the park home run, that's even better. It would like that Terry McLaurin touchdown would have been great right there, though. That'd been great. Boston at Toronto, 8 total in this game. Toronto, a 130 favorite. We got Bayo against Francis. Any interest here in Brian Bayo?
Oh, no. Not a chance.
Oh, no. Not happening. Yeah, I mean,
look, I know he ate this team alive the last time, but, like, we can't actually count on this guy to put up crazy upside like he did the last start against his team a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I'm going to say about this. His strikeout rate against righties has been fantastic all year. This is a team that probably has 5 or 6 right-handed hitters in the lineup here today. So I wouldn't necessarily talk you off of it if you are playing MME. Like if you're playing 150 and that's something that you want to do, but it's not my favorite spot by any means. So, I mean, could you get 20-25 out of him? Sure. I'm probably not doing it. And then like Bowden Francis on the other side of this game, I mean, basically the same thing that I said about Bassett yesterday. The Red Sox are really solid against right-handed pitching, and this is a guy that struggles with lefties, and they're going to have a lot of lefties in this lineup. They strike out a ton. So can Francis have a huge game? Yeah, I mean, he put up 29 fantasy points against this team last time out. So I think Francis and Bayo are both like large field GPP plays. Thoughts here on Francis?
Man, look, what I will say is, Stevie, do I think Francis is a little bit too expensive? Probably so. Like, I don't think this is a guy, despite the fact, Stevie, that, I mean, he's almost gone, I think he's almost had 2 complete game no-hitters this season. I know he's had 1, I think, and I think maybe he was on his way to 2. I usually try not to spoil anything, Stevie. I think Eovaldi may be better. I think Ober's probably better. I think Fott may be better in the spot. But as Boston is going down the stretch of the season, we have seen their lineup have more strikeouts in it. And so I think the strikeouts will be there. But I don't think he's going for 25 fantasy points. And I think these other guys possibly could go for 25 fantasy points, Stevie. So that's really why I'm not interested. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if he's somewhere between 20 and 25. But just how the slate's broken out, getting some of these other pitchers that are average to above average versus worse teams, I'm just going to elect to side with them. Hopefully that makes a ton of sense for people.
Any interest here in the Boston Bats?
No, I don't really want to load up on the Bats either.
Yeah, I'm out. I mean, I'll say this. You could play Duran. You could play Cassis. You could play Abreu. Francis struggles with left-handed power. Those 3 guys, I think, are fine. But overall, probably not getting to a lot here. Toronto Bats against Bayo. Any interest here in the Blue Jays?
Oh, man. I mean, Stevie, look, I don't mind anytime a one-off Vlad or a one-off Springer, even though I know that, you know, Bayo's definitely stronger against righties. You know, if you want to grab one of these cheap guys, like you can, because, you know, they've been rolling out a lot of cheap bets also, but I don't think I want to stack the Toronto Blue Jays today. I'm way more likely to stack Baltimore or the Yankees than I am Toronto, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep playing Luke's. I think that he's talented. He keeps hitting second. He's a one-off that I don't mind. He's a little bit more expensive at $3,500 today, but if he's going to keep hitting second, that's the guy I want to target. I want to target lefties against Bayo. So like Luke's or Horwitz. You could always play Vlad if you want to make like a little 3-man stack. Vlad is just good against everything. So probably not getting to too much Toronto here today, outside of, like I said, the cheap Luke's hitting potentially second. Moving on, we got Mets at Atlanta Braves. Like you said, huge series here. 8 total in this one. Atlanta, 142 favorite. Severino against Schwallenbach. Any interest here in Luis Severino?
No.
Had I told you at the beginning of the season that the Braves would be fighting to make the playoffs with the roster that you had coming into the season, you probably would have told me I'm crazy. Had I told you that you're going to lose, 6 starters overall between pitching and hitting. I think it's 6, but
Strider,
rough.
Oh gosh, Acuna, Albies. We lost Riley for a good while. We had Harris out for a good while. We had our catcher out. Murphy was out for a while. I mean, Stevie, rough season. I mean, rough.
We're missing a couple names too that we're not thinking off the top of the head. But anyway, any thoughts here on Severino?
No, I'm not playing Severino even against this Braves team. And I will say, man, kudos to Severino for having like resurgence of a career, Stevie. Now, he's not the dominant strikeout pitcher that he was consistently, back in the what do we want to call it? 2018, maybe 2019, like somewhere around there, where he was really good. But shout out to him for really becoming just an incredible major league pitcher. Like, just able to get through the season, pitch games, kudos to him. I'm not playing him against the Braves, though. Come on, Braves. Let's just win this first one. Win this first one, please.
Man, Jamar Chase just made an insane catch for a touchdown. Anybody that's watching the football game, that was a wild catch. Like, yeah, he's one of the best wide receivers in football. Yeah, I'm not playing Severino today. I have picked on the Braves a lot here down the stretch. Severino has been pitching okay, like way better than he was. Huge game. If Severino gets in trouble, expect the bullpen early in this one. I wouldn't be shocked if Severino throws like 70 pitches if he starts struggling. That is my biggest concern. This is a huge game for both teams. This is a huge series for both teams. Like Will said, I mean, right now, the Mets are 2 games up on the Braves for the final wild card spot. And I mean, Atlanta has a tough go here. They get the Mets and the Royals are fighting for a wild card spot. And obviously the Mets are playing the Braves here. And then they finish out the weekend with the Brewers. So huge series, both sides. I mean, the Brewers are, I don't know, have they clinched? I'm pretty sure they clinched the division, right? I'm pretty sure Milwaukee clinched the division. So they're in. But, I mean, if you could knock out the Mets are a scary team. What are we doing here with your boy Schwellenbach going up against New York?
I mean, look, man, Schwellenbach, he's had his ups, Stevie. He's had his downs. He went through, I mean, an incredible stretch, and then recently went through a stretch where he just couldn't put it together. But then, he's seen the Dodgers, he sees Cincinnati, and it's kind of got back on track here at 8,900. Look, man, I'm just being a fan. I'm playing Schwellenbach against the Mets and hoping he dominates.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 ways to play this. I think that he's either going to go out and pitch really well and they let him keep going, or if he starts getting in trouble, they might go to the bullpen early too. I mean, right now, when you're got playoff teams that are playing for big spots, that's what you kind of have to expect is really good game if he's going, really bad game, early outing if he's not going. So I like him for tournaments. Any interest here in the Mets bats? I will say this really quick too. I would have a lot more interest in Schwellenbach if this game was in Citi Field and not in Atlanta. Thoughts on the Mets bats?
I'm not playing the Mets today, Stevie. Just if you will indulge me and let me have my fandom. I'm not touching this team. Chop on, go Braves.
Yeah, Nimmo, Alonso, Vientos, those have been the guys all season against right-handed pitching. Recently, it's still Alonso, Nimmo, Winker. Winker's actually been hitting the ball pretty well. So those would be the guys that I'd be targeting here if I was going to pick on Schwellenbach, but I'm probably not going to pick on Schwellenbach. I mean, he's a really good pitcher. As far as the Atlanta bats are concerned, what are your thoughts here on your Braves?
Listen, since the Braves have had all these injuries, Stevie, they've still had some guys, but they have been a lot cheaper. Ozuna's still 5,500, don't care. Harris, 4,900. Prices come up, obviously. You've got Olsen at 5,400, and what do you know, man? Like, how about Ozzie Albies back in the lineup, Stevie, for a few games? If we can somehow get in here and Albies can continue to hit well or start to hit well, I mean, that would be a huge boost for us. So I'm all aboard the Braves train against Severino here as we get at least one of our better hitters back.
Yeah, hit a home run Sunday against Miami in his 3rd game back. Huge for Atlanta to have Albies back. It just makes the lineup tougher. And Severino struggles against lefties. That's where his weakness is the lefties. So Harris, Albies, Olsen. You could always take shots on guys like Ozuna and Soler. They have so much power. But yeah, I definitely prefer the lefties in this spot. Good to see Albie's back. Good timing for him to get back. They need to win every game right now. Every game matters for this team right now. So LA Angels at Chicago White Sox. We have some good games, and then we have this. Albie's only hitting from the right side. I mean, I could be wrong. I didn't actually know that was a thing. Is that a thing, Will?
I wasn't aware that Albie's was only going to hit from the right side, but if it is, I mean, I could find out.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm reading about it right now. You're right, Derek. Thank you. He's only hitting from the right side because he's still dealing with a little bit of wrist soreness, and he's only going to hit right-handed. So thank you. Makes me like him less. So I appreciate that tidbit. Angels and White Sox, 8 total. Angels are 122 favorite. Kwanowicz against Cannon. Any interest here in Jack Kwanowicz?
Man, I mean, I feel like I should have interest. This guy's facing the White Sox, Stevie, but I don't know if I can count on him for this same performance he had in 79 pitches against them 5 days ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, I almost want to risk it, Stevie, because it's the White Sox, but I think I pass.
I'm going to play him. He's 6K. He's facing the White Sox. Listen, we're going to talk about a lot of bats today that I like. Yeah. I'm going to throw out my rules of back-to-back starts, yada, yada, yada. Don't care. He's 6K. He's facing the White Sox. This White Sox offense is awful. Like, if you're Detroit, you're so happy you finished your season against the White Sox this weekend. We'll talk about that obviously on Friday, but yeah, Detroit gets the White Sox to finish out the year. You're jumping up for joy in your chances to make the playoffs when you get the White Sox to finish the year. Cannon, other side, any interest here in Cannon?
I mean, I'm probably way more interested in a guy like Cannon than I am Kochanowicz because of the leash that I think Cannon's going to have down the stretch. So I'm fine with Cannon at 6,200.
I think they're both in play. I think that Moniak being back in the lineup is probably not the best thing. You obviously want him out. I will say, like, Wagman, ever since they've called him up, he's been hitting pretty well. But, I mean, overall, this lineup still stinks. It's a really, really bad lineup. So, yeah, I mean, both these pitchers are in play for me in tournaments. Talking about the Angels bats here first, I like Moniak. I like Wagman. Wagaman, I guess is how Eric Wagaman. He's been hitting pretty well since he got called up. And then I always like Moniak, but some cheap Angels I think are fine against Cannon. He's not overpowering, is the nicest way to put it, but he strikes out right-handed pitchers a lot more than lefties, but he's not overpowering to either side.
Yeah.
Any interest in the White Sox bats?
I don't like either of these offenses, man. This has got to be the worst game on the slate, right, Stevie? Like, isn't this the worst one?
We just talked about playing Kwanowicz and Cannon. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the bats in this game.
Yeah, brother. This game is awful. Oh, so bad.
Yeah, I mean, who do you play for the White Sox? They're just.
I'm not playing anyone.
Yeah, they're so bad. They have no hitter in this lineup with an ISO over 200. It's been a rough go. I will say Benintendi has been hitting the ball with a lot more pop recently. So if I was going to play anybody, it would be him at 3,500. Just looking at some of his expected stats and advanced stats, they've been absolutely solid here recently. So, like, if you're going to play anybody, I think it's Benintendi. Miami at Minnesota. We got Weathers going up against Ober in this one. 8 total. Minnesota, 245 favorite. Big series here for Minnesota. They're 1 game back currently of the Royals and the Tigers down the stretch here. Thoughts here on Ryan Weathers?
Not playing Ryan Weathers. Not against my favorite stacking team of the Minnesota Twins. I know, hey, maybe it looks like they're right outside, but everybody's got to keep playing baseball, Stevie. So they need to win. I'm not playing Ryan Weathers.
Yeah, first start back. He had struggled a little bit in his rehab start, and he really struggled against the Dodgers in his first start back. He allowed 3 home runs, had 5 strikeouts, but 5 earned runs over 4 1/3. So, and only 74 pitches. I prefer left-handed pitching against this team more than right-handed pitching, but I still don't want to play him in this spot. With Correa and Lewis and these guys, Buxton healthy, like they're the top half of this lineup is really strong. So it's tough to really kind of attack it. Bailey Ober going up against Miami. Thoughts here on Ober?
Love Ober today, Stevie. Definitely one of my favorite pitchers on the slate at 8,600. I think this is a really good spot for him. A guy that has really pitched well most of the season, has had a few hiccups, Stevie, but overall has been super solid for us. Usually when we roster him, especially against teams that he's able to dominate. And I think this is a team he can absolutely dominate. So give me tons of Bailey Ober in your bills today at 8,600.
Yep, I like Bailey Ober a lot in this spot. Miami is a team that I picked on a lot down the stretch. I've actually stacked them more than I thought I ever would down the stretch as well. Some of these guys they've called up they've actually been hitting the ball pretty well. But overall, there's still a lot of strikeouts in this lineup, and I think that this is definitely a team you want to attack. Any interest here in the Marlins bats?
No.
Oh, Casey Schmidt just hit a home run. That was a good one. He was one of my favorite value plays on the podcast yesterday. Hopefully you played him. He was 2,300. He just hit a home run. That's awesome. Love to see it, Casey Schmidt. Let's hit another one, boys. Yeah. We're all over it now. Like I'm within striking distance now. That makes me happy. So I talked about this last time. I want power that hits the ball on the ground because Bailey Ober is a fly ball guy. I highlighted Josh Naylor last time out, and he had 2 home runs off of Bailey Ober. I think if I was going to play any home run in this spot, it would be Sanchez. Jesus Sanchez is a massive, massive ground ball hitter, 49%, but he hits the ball 65% hard hit rate at 65%. He barrels 14% of his balls, so he's going to benefit from a fly ball pitcher here. He's 3,300, so Jesus Sanchez would be my fly ball target here against Ober if I was going to play any of them. Thoughts here on the Minnesota bats?
Man, I'm all about the Minnesota bats, Stevie, and I've been all about them most of the season. Getting a spot here against Weathers, man. Give me Castro. Give me Wallner. Just give me these lefties. Give me this team in general, Stevie. Still not incredibly expensive overall, and a spot where they absolutely need to win. Love Minnesota today. One of my favorite stacks of the slate. No surprise there.
Yep, I like Minnesota a lot today. I think this is a fantastic spot for them. Like you said, I hope Jeffers is in there. He's 3,900. Correa, Buxton, Lewis, all fantastic plays. Just a spot. I want to play Minnesota. And I will say, we might get Margot in the lineup today at 2,300 instead of Larnach. And, I mean, you're obviously worried a little bit about pinch hit risk with Margot, but he's 2,300. So if he does crack the lineup, that's a really fair price tag. I assume Kyle Farmer will be in the lineup here against the lefty. He's 2,200. He has a 170 ISO, 340 WOBA against left-handed pitching this year. So you're going to potentially get some cheap bats, which then you don't have to sacrifice some of these great hitters. I think McLaurin just got a touchdown. That was an awesome touchdown. I think that hits our morning grind prop from yesterday too. I think that was his 4th catch. So we're doing it, Will. We're starting the week off on the right note. Casey Schmidt home run and Terry McLaurin touchdowns that's back to back. That was good. So
Bro, you don't even want to know how close I was to something monstrous. And I thought, Stevie, I didn't even mention it. I thought getting the Travis Etienne yards at the end of the game, I said to myself, oh, this is it. We're going to do it. And then Yoshivas catches a 16-yard pass, and I took him less than longer than a 14.5-yard catch tonight because I figured with the other receiver back, along with Higgins back, with all these guys kind of getting healthy, I figured not that he would be phased out, Stevie, but that Burrow would kind of get to some of his main guys. Well, they end up going down in this game and losing, and it looks like they may even lose the game. And so Joe Burrow just has to sit here and just air it out any way that he can. And I'm sitting here when I realized that, Stevie, it's just like just a monster of a head drop. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I just knew I had it. Used my profit boost on that today on Underdog, Stevie. So I went from like normal profit, because I don't know, I think this one might have been like 104x or something. And he goes over because the Bengals are terrible this season.
You want to hear something awesome?
You just crushed your stuff?
No. I just want you to hear something awesome. I had 37% Juwan Jennings on Sunday and lost $120.
Unbelievable.
Figure that one out. We'll leave that for the football podcast. Hey, speaking of football podcasts, Will and Luch doing their thing over there. Already got their podcast up for this week. Food for Thought week 4 over there on the RotoGrinders Morning Grind. Not Morning Grind, just kidding. RotoGrinders podcast feed and the videos page on the actual website. So yeah, check that out. It was up. They do it on Monday around 3:00. So yeah, awesome. Yeezy, did you beat me, Yeezy? I think you beat me, right? I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure you beat me. So me and Yeezy were playing against each other in the RotoGrinders season-long league. Yeezy in the league, and I think Yeezy beat me because I had Zamir White and Shaheed, so didn't do well for your boy this week. All right, well, back to baseball. We move on to Seattle at Houston. Gilbert and Valdez pitching against each other, 7.5 total. Houston, a 162 favorite. Thoughts here on Logan Gilbert?
Oh, boy. I mean, Gilbert, hasn't he been good down the stretches, Stevie? He gets good teams. So it's not like he's just been facing, rough teams. He's been pretty good. I still think I'm going to let him sit on the shelf. I'm hoping Houston can neutralize the strikeouts a little bit. So I'm just not playing him for that reason. But look, man, he's been fantastic as we close this season out. Really good.
Absolutely stellar, I think is the way to put it. Seattle beating Houston right now. Bottom of the ninth, Houston down 6-1 with one out, and then Singleton up. So it looks like Seattle will win that game, which is big. Seattle is going to be tied with Minnesota and one game back of Kansas City and Detroit now. So anything can happen. I mean,
division. Super tight.
It's fun. I mean,
that's what I was going to say too.
Fun. So
secretly, that might be the most exciting race in baseball right now.
Like, if you're any playoff team, the last team you want to see make the playoffs is Seattle because their pitching staff is incredible. So I think that's the last thing ever that that's not what you're wishing for by any means here. So, all right. Yeah. I mean, Gilbert, I like Logan Gilbert. He's been pitching great recently. I mean, we just watched Bryce Miller pitch really well. I don't think I could do it with Gilbert today, but I'm not going to sit here and try to talk you off of it. If you feel comfortable with Logan Gilbert, I just think this is one of those spots where the strikeout upside is too limited for me to get to him. They only have 2 hitters with strikeout rates over 20%, so I just don't want to do it. Valdez on the other side, I love it. I mean, I'm going to play Valdez a bunch today. He's 10K. He gets a matchup with Seattle. It's a huge strikeout matchup. Obviously, Cal Riley, Randy Rosarina both have plenty of power against left-handed pitching. But yeah, I mean, overall, I like Valdez a lot here.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is another top spot. It's just for him, you've got to pay all the way up in terms of the slate. And I'm perfectly fine with that, Stevie. I think Valdez is a great play today. And, let's get him in your lineups. This is a fantastic strikeout matchup. He also, Stevie, has been really good to close out the season. And, I know all of his games haven't been 30-point games. But, Stevie, let's go back. I'm going to go back to July 10th. And, not that we need to sell you, but 33 fantasy points, 16, 34, 25, 27, 30, 35, 18, 27, 30, 20, and 21. Stevie, that's since July. Talk about a model of consistency for this pitching staff. He's been amazing. Fire him up.
Yeah, I mean, his strikeouts have been excellent, too. Over 6 strikeouts or more, at least 6 strikeouts or more in 9 of his last 10 starts. He's been pitching fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot. I don't want to play any Seattle bats. If you're MMEing and you want to play Cal Riley or Randy Rosarina, they've hit left-handed pitching all year. I'm not going to talk you off of it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not really playing any bats in this game. I'm just not playing Gilbert because I think Houston can limit the damage. But Houston isn't a high scorer. I'm sorry. Not playing any bats, not playing Seattle, and not playing Houston because they're just not a high enough scoring offense. And I think both sides neutralize themselves out.
Yeah, I'm not playing the Houston bats either. We're not going to try to talk you off of playing Kyle Tucker. Jordan Alvarez banged up right now. Terrible timing for Alvarez to get hurt as far as Houston is concerned. But yeah, I'm not doing it today. Moving on, we have St. Louis at Colorado in Coors taking on the Rockies. McGreevy against Feltner. 10.5 total. St. Louis a 130 favorite. Any interest here in Michael McGreevy?
Oh boy, Stevie. He's not going to see enough pitches to be valuable on the slate, is he? I don't think so. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, he worked out of the bullpen in his first outing since July 31st, but what's the upside, I think, is the biggest question here. Is he going to get enough pitches? I like the talent prospects, but I don't think I could do it as far as pitch count. I don't think he's going to pitch deep enough in this game for me to play him. So I'm probably going to pass on him. And I know I'm not going to play Feltner on the other side here against St. Louis.
Forget about it.
I thought you muted your mic again. I didn't have my screen up. I was like, oh no.
No, I was not muted.
No, I mean, Feltner, he's been pitching pretty good. He's done a good job limiting power recently, but just not enough strikeouts. Yeah. Josh, I agree. Jaden Daniels looks like the real deal. I'm excited for this Washington team. I think that they have a lot of upside. Any interest here in the St. Louis bats?
Man, Stevie, you know I'm not usually thrilled about Coors. However, because the Cardinals have been so cheap, none of them really made the 5K outside of Goldschmidt. So it's like maybe I have some interest. This is one where I may have to wait and see, and just kind of see where the ownership lands. I feel like it's going to be high enough for me to reconsider it or to consider not playing them. But once again, and I think this is something I don't mention enough of, I always felt like Coors was overpriced for the ownership people were getting because of the shift to the ballpark, Stevie. But, because St. Louis has been so cheap, they're all about $1,000 more, but they're still not more than 5K. So it's still a balanced lineup.
St. Louis is too cheap for facing Feltner in Coors. That is basically where it's at. A lot of interest here in the Cardinals. Be really interesting to see what the Cardinals lineup looks like. They are officially mathematically eliminated. They can't make the playoffs now. The most they can win is 86, right? 85 games. My math might be wrong. I think it's 85 games. So they're mathematically eliminated. So it'd be really interesting to see if we get any kind of different like Cardinals lineups here down the stretch. But yeah, I like them a lot in the spot against Feltner in Coors. Other side of this game, any interest here in Colorado? And real quick before I let you talk about Colorado, like a cap tip here to Charlie Blackmon, going to retire at the end of the year. Announced on Monday that at the end of the year, Charlie Blackmon, 14 years, all of them with this team, just absolutely fantastic. You love to see it, man. What a awesome career for Charlie Blackmon, and wish him nothing but the best. What are your thoughts here on the Rockies?
I don't really want to play the Rockies. Probably going to be some weird bullpen game, and this team hasn't been great. But I'm with you, Stevie. Tip of the cap for sure to Blackmon. I mean, he's really had a good career. Obviously, he's been an all-stars. I mean, I do still like it when guys finish their careers where they started, Steve, or like the Kobe, right? Had a full career there, which is why it sucked when Dwayne Wade went to Chicago and Cleveland. I feel like that just really screwed up, what could have been an insane career only in Miami. Same thing for Michael Jordan too. Like, as much as Michael Jordan is the GOAT, like going to Washington, like, come on, guy, why? Like, just should have never done that. But I digress. Shout out to Charlie Blackmon. I'm not playing the Rockies.
Hey, I kind of like Charlie Blackmon, the narrative, right?
I get it.
I only get to play him like 5 or 6 more times. So, yeah. I mean, I don't mind like the idea of playing him here, but overall, I mean, McMahon at 5,100 is someone that I don't mind. Tovar, Jones, probably not my favorite spot. San Francisco at Arizona, 8.5 total in this game. Arizona 135 favorite. Logan Webb, Brandon Pfaadt. Any interest here in Logan Webb?
Look, man, Webb has also been, Stevie, the model of consistency over the course of the entire season. Now, as we've got down the stretch here to close it out, has had San Diego back-to-back and didn't really pitch well in either start. They're a really low strikeout team. We get it. Didn't really pitch well against Miami. Didn't really pitch well against Milwaukee. But overall has had a solid season. I don't think I'm going to do it today against Arizona. He's my odd man out in the 8K range. That's a good pitcher, good real-life pitcher, but I don't see the upside today. So I'm out.
My thought here, like my concern is now that they're officially eliminated, probably his last start of the season, he is sitting at 198 innings on the year. Like, how long do they really let him go? I mean, that's my concern. Is Logan Webb's had a fantastic season. How long are they going to let him go is my concern here. I'm out on Logan Webb today, and I really hated that Zach Moss touchdown. If anybody was curious, that touchdown was that touchdown hurt a lot. Like that was a painful touchdown, and I watched my lineups go from here to here. Not good. Pfaadt on the other side of this game. Any interest in him?
I do actually like Pfaadt here, Stevie. We've seen, the San Francisco Giants be able to get up some strikeouts. Pfaadt at 8,200, I think it's a good spot for him. I plan to play him.
Yep, I like him at 8,200. I'm right there with you. There's a lot of strikeouts in the San Francisco lineup overall. And I mean, it's not like he's been pitching bad. He had a rough outing against Milwaukee, but overall, he's actually been pitching pretty good. So 29.5% Ks over his last 30 days. And yeah, I mean, we've seen some big strikeout games against the Dodgers and the Brewers. So obviously like this spot against the Giants a lot. Any interest here in San Francisco?
No.
Yeah. I know, Josh. That touchdown was painful. Oh, man. I'm not playing the Giants either. I have some slight interest in Arizona, but overall, probably not playing a ton of Arizona here today. They're battling right now as far as like making the NL wild card. And I mean, if you pinch hit risk is something you're obviously worried about overall. So I mean, I'm probably not playing a lot of Arizona. If anything, Jock Peterson and Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, I get it. I don't really plan to play much from this game. I am intrigued though, Stevie, with the Webb situation because if I'm not mistaken, didn't he go 5 innings, 86 pitches? Let me recheck that to verify. I'm sorry, 5 innings, 96 pitches. My bad. 96. 10 whole pitches is a big deal. But I do think that I'm just kind of pondering what you said about them possibly pulling Webb because of the season and them not going to the playoffs. And if that's the case, I'm with you. Like being able to get some Jock in the game might be okay. I don't think I stacked them. Maybe I go one-offs here, Stevie. But I'm a little bit more intrigued now that I'm thinking through this whole situation with Webb and how they may just kind of let him pitch 5 innings and get him out of there. You know, I'm a little bit more intrigued.
Texas at Oakland, 7.5 total. Texas a 120 favorite. Eovaldi against Mitch Spence. Any interest here in Nathan Eovaldi?
I'm fine with Eovaldi today. 8,700, reasonable price. He's the guy that hasn't been great down the season, but could absolutely, have a good game here in Oakland. So he's just a guy that I'm going to have in the mix because of the spot.
Yeah, I don't know. So his contract runs up at the end of this year. If I'm not think it ends. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure his contract is up. And he had to pitch 300 innings between last year and this year. I don't know how many innings he pitched last year. I'm going to look it up really quick because I'm so curious now. Because I know he's at 100. He's at 156 for this season. I don't know where he was at last year. I'm looking it up. Sorry, because this matters to me enough. So he's at 300.2 innings. So if he wants to stay with Texas next year, he gets $20 million for staying with Texas, and he doesn't have to throw another inning this year. So what I was going to bring up, because I knew it was close. I had looked this up the other day, and I knew it was close. But if he needed like 6 or 7 innings, I was going to be like, man, he's going to have a huge incentive to go out and throw like a $20 million incentive to go out and throw like a gem. But I mean, looking at it more now, he got it. He's in. I mean, he's locked in for $20 million next year for Texas if he wants to be.
And he won a championship with his team.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be crazy at this point of his career to turn down $20 million at 34, I think, 35. All this to say, I don't necessarily love Eovaldi today if he's going to be popular. It'd be a complete ownership thing for me. If he's getting a lot of ownership, I'll probably pass. I think there's a lot of good pitching options today. He's a guy that gives up home runs. Oakland is a team that lives by the long ball. They strike out a bunch, but they hit a lot of home runs. So if Eovaldi's getting a lot of ownership today, I'll probably pass. I mean, they have a lot of upside in this lineup. If he's not getting a lot of ownership, I definitely don't mind playing Eovaldi. And then on the other side, Mitch Spence. I mean, some of the lineups that Texas has rolled out over the last week or so have not been great. Do we take some shots on Mitch Spence today at 6,300 if we're, playing multiple lineups?
I don't. But Stevie, that's just me trying to keep my pool tight. Like, clearly I understand Spence is serviceable. And he's serviceable, Stevie, but I still don't want to play him. I think if there's anybody I'm going to play in the 6K range, it's Cannon. And I think that's just where I land.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I don't know. I am on the fence on taking shots on Mitch Spence today. It'll be depending on the lineup. But my other issue is like even the lineup could potentially be really bad and not strike out a ton. And how much upside does Mitch Spence with his 19% strikeout rate have? Any interest here in the Texas Bats?
I've liked Texas some this season, Stevie, because they've been so affordable, right? So like Wyatt Langford 4,200, Garcia 4K. My boy Josh Smith. I played him actually a fair amount this year in props and in tournaments. He's 4K. Simeon's 4,700, Lowe's 3,100. They're still cheap. So if you're a believer in this team and you think they can rock a few off Spence, then I think you play them. I don't think they're the best team on the slate, but I think they're cheap enough to, go on the other side of a primary stack.
Hey, you play my boy Wyatt Langford. He does his thing, so I don't mind Wyatt Langford here. I don't mind Texas, I guess, overall, but yeah, I don't have a ton of interest. And then Oakland, I don't mind targeting the power Oakland bats. Butler, Roker, Blade, Langoliers, Bangoliers. What a breakout season for Bangoliers. 28 home runs. You imagine if this dude can hit 2 more home runs? Who had Shea Langoliers hitting 30 home runs this year? I don't think it was many people.
Not many, my brother. Not many.
Yeah, and like he's young, right? Like he's 25, 26, I think is what I remember.
Somebody's going to trade for him unless they're going to try to make him the face of the franchise. And I don't think they're going to try to make him the face of the franchise. So that means at some point, Stevie, I think he's out of there.
Oakland thoughts, Will?
I'm not thrilled about Oakland, man. They're another cheap stack. But I'm perfectly fine with these one-off pieces. Like I'm pretty positive Butler probably leads off here, Stevie. And while he's cooled off since the beginning of the season, still so much power. So I don't mind a one-off Butler, a one-off Bangoliers, as you would say. I don't mind those guys.
I can't take credit of somebody in chat. I mean, I'm gonna always call him that, but I can't take too much credit for that. No real final thoughts for me. I'm going to target the power. We finish it out with San Diego at LA taking on the Dodgers. 8 total. Pick'em game. Michael King, Landon Knack. Good baseball game. I don't know how much I like for betting or DFS purposes overall, but yeah, good baseball game. Big series here with San Diego and the Dodgers. Like, I mean, this is if you're the Padres, you sweep the Dodgers here, and you're right on it. So I mean, this is a fun one, man. Right? Like just overall, thoughts here on Michael King.
I'm not playing King against the Dodgers. Like Stevie, the Dodgers have kind of had the reverse of the Braves, where everybody got hurt early enough that they could all make it back. And now they've all made it back. And, I mean, you've seen the difference in the totality and the monstrosity of scoring from this complete lineup, Stevie. Like, big-time run scoring. And Michael King's been good this year. And I don't want to take anything away from him. But I'm not playing him against this LA Dodgers construction.
Yeah, I'm not playing King here. I think that he's had a phenomenal year, and he's a guy that I definitely could see myself using in the playoffs a little bit. Not playing him in this spot. Landon Knack absolutely crushed for me last time out. Not doing it here against the Padres, continuing to be one of the lowest strikeout teams in baseball. Just not a lot of upside here.
Yeah, I'm not playing Landon Knack. X button.
Yeah, I mean, How good is the AL Central this year? Man, how much did we make fun of the AL Central last year? The Guardians, the Tigers, the Royals, and the Twins all fighting for playoff spots. Like, it's just, I think the Guardians are in. They clinched the division already. But I was like thinking about the NL West, like the Dodgers, Padres, and Diamondbacks, and I was like, man, that's a really strong division. And the NL East, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Braves, always a really strong division. But the AL Central, I remember picking on them, making so much fun last year of this team, like this division, and like they're doing their thing. So, any interest in the Padres bats?
I think I have to have some interest. Like, look, man, Tatis's bat, 5,400, Stevie. Profar has been good this season. Merrill obviously came on late. They went and got Arias from Miami, which gives them another low K bat. Cronenworth has been there. He's still cheap. Machado, Stevie, this is a cheap team, and they need to win. I actually have quite a bit of interest in San Diego because of the balance in their pricing.
I'm probably not going to play them, but I hear you. I don't like the bats overall in this game. And then on the Dodgers side, King's been pitching well enough where I just don't think I can do it. Any interest here in the Dodgers?
Oh, man. I think Dodgers are a one-off city for me today, Stevie. Like, Ohtani 7,500. I think that's really really expensive against King. Like, even if Ohtani just hits a home run, Stevie, that's not enough for him to beat you at 7,500. That's not enough. Like, so you need him to start. You would need him to have a nuclear game. Well, let me not say that's not enough. If your other stat doesn't go off and all he does is hit a home run, it's not enough. Like, clearly, if you pick a cheap stack, Steve, and they score 12 runs, you nail all the home runs, and Ohtani hits home, like, he's just built into your lineup. But if you're talking about him, kind of carrying your team, I just don't see it. I don't feel like the Dodgers are stacked today per se. Once again, I'm not playing King because this is a tough spot. I think there's limited upside here. But I also feel like he's good enough to limit the Dodgers' upside, and that's where I am.
All right, so let's play the morning grind game, and then we will get out of here. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got?
Man, got some options today, Stevie. I'm going with Cannon from the White Sox.
All right, I like it. I'm going to stay in that same game and take Jack Quanovich.
Like it.
Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust today?
Man, this is a tough one, Stevie, because ironically, most of these guys are solid pitchers. I'm going Webb, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I like the call on Webb just because of like the stuff I was talking about. As far as like, he's had 198 innings for the year. Do they pull him early if he's struggling at all? I'm gonna go Eovaldi again. He locked in his $20 million last time out. He has the option to stay with this team for $20 million next year. I don't see the reason for Eovaldi to go deep in this game if he's struggling. So I'll go Eovaldi. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard today?
Ooh, Stevie, I think we have some options here. I'm not going to be a homer today. I am going to go outside of the TP, and I'm going with someone from one of my favorite teams, Stevie, and they are at home. It is the Minnesota Twins. Give me my boy, Royce Lewis, at 4,400.
Like that price tag for him too. I'm trying not to go all the way to the top. My favorite home run to play today is Soto.
I knew that, Stevie. I actually knew that.
I was trying to like get a little different and not say him. but I'm just going to do it. Give me Juan Soto to hit a home run today. I'll probably make him the morning grind image, so that way I can at least like know that he's going to hit a home run. Those images have been hot. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bet that you like today?
So many cheap bets in play today, Stevie. But there's one guy I talked about at the end of the slate, and I talked about they picked him up late or mid-season. That's Luis Arias at 3,700. Incredible price for one of the lowest bats in baseball.
I like that. I'm going to go to my boy Nathan Lukes to get 2 hits today. Keeps hitting, just needs to hit with a little bit more power. I like his spot today against Bayo. Bayo struggles with lefties. Stack to score 6 or more runs. Who do you got?
Minnesota Twins.
Man, I like that. Obviously, a lot of interest in the Twins today. A lot of interest in the Cardinals. Man, I really like the Cardinals today. I don't think a lot of teams score a ton of runs today, but give me the Yankees against Dean Kramer. I know Kramer's been pitching well, but I like the Yankees today. Any player props or pick 'em plays you like today?
Yeah, I was trying to see what I could get on Valdez. I'm assuming he comes in at 6.5, Stevie. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but that's what I think he comes out at in. I wanted Brandon Pfaadt as well. My thoughts on Pfaadt, excuse me, Steve, is that he comes in at 5.5, and I want more than that projection. And then Bailey Ober's probably coming in at 6.5 also, and I want more than that projection.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything up right now that I love. I'll be honest, I'm probably going to be searching for some Logan Webb unders tomorrow. It's tough matchup against Arizona anyway, and the fact that
I hope they give us 18.5 pitching outs. I hope that's what they do.
Like I would be on the under on that one. I like that one quite a bit. And like I like Bailey overs because I mean if he's pitching well, Minnesota needs to win games right now. So I think that they would let him kind of go in this game. So those are the two that I'm looking at, and then I'll look for some potential strikeout props in that White Sox Angels game on both of those pitchers today.
Yep.
Any other bets you like today?
No, because everything I want to play, Stevie, it's not up yet. So that's why I'm speculating where I think the line's going to be. But those are going to be, where I kind of settle in. If Schwellenbach comes out at 5.5, I may take that also in terms of his strikeouts. And he is at 5.5, but it's minus 160, so not appealing at all.
All right, 3-pick parlay here for Tuesday. We hit the Monday Night Football 2-pick single game parlay. It wasn't anything special. I'm going to call it a win. It was plus 160. It was Burrow over passing touchdowns and McLaurin over receptions, and that barely got there. He had 4. He had to make a great catch to get there. I'll call it a win because it was a win. My 3-pick parlay here for baseball it's plus 365. One of my favorite bets today, and I bet this separately outside of the 3-pick parlay, but I like the Houston-Seattle game to go under 7.5 runs. It's Logan Gilbert. It's Framber Valdez. It's a Houston team that's banged up a little bit with Yordan Alvarez dealing with a sprained ankle, and it's Alvarez against the Mariners. So I really like the under 7.5 runs in that game. I like the Diamondbacks money line, minus 135. I think Arizona is going to beat Logan Webb today, and all the reasons that I highlighted. Brandon Pfaadt against San Francisco is a good matchup, and Logan Webb, I just don't know how deep he'll pitch. And then I'm going to pay the massive juice on Minnesota. Bailey Ober against Ryan Weathers, Minnesota against Miami. Give me the Minnesota money line. I wouldn't bet like this at minus 245 just outright because I hate paying that much juice. But in a 3-pick parlay where I have a minus 110 and a minus 135, plus 365 for this 3-bet parlay today. That's going to wrap it up here for Tuesday. We're back Wednesday, final week of the regular season. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.